All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Friday meeting for Hack UCF. We'll start right into it. So if you have not already, please visit our sign-in form located here, hackucf.org/sign-in. This is just one of those things SGA wants us to do to keep track of attendance, so that if you were to vote in our elections or decide to run in the elections next semester, attendance would have to be a requirement. But other than that, there is nothing in the club that you are restricted from doing if you do not meet 50% attendance requirement. It is only for the club elections. So, and that will be open the entirety of this meeting. So, excuse me. We do have a few areas to get involved and stay informed with us. One of which is our mailing list. If you subscribe to that, you will get our weekly newsletter, which is sent out every Wednesday, containing information about what the Friday meeting is going to be about and any workshops and or CTFs we have on the weekend. Also, we do have a shop where you can buy some of our merchandise, such as pins, hoodies, beanies, and cool stuff like that, if that's your thing. Also, our most popular platform is our Discord. That's where most of our members are. We hang out, we socialize. We also post announcements in there and a lot of the links for the meetings that we have. So if you're not in Discord already, we highly encourage you to please join that. And of course, we do have a Twitter where we post tweets about our meetings and our workshops and other cyber information and ongoings in the world. So here's a place you can get to know us. And we're going to move on to today's topics. So as always, we're going to start off with announcements. Then we're going to move on to current events with Jeffrey. And then we're going to be demonstrating the digital invisible ink toolkit for our tool time today, brought to us by variable name. And our main talk today will be AWL Bypasses with LOLBins with Raul. And then we're going to close the meeting out after that. So first thing on announcements is our operations. So every Monday at 7:30 p.m. on Zoom, we do have our operations meetings. This is open to anyone who's interested in helping us plan the Friday meetings, plan workshop ideas. If you show up, you can even volunteer yourself to lead a workshop on our weekends. There's no restriction on that. If you feel like you have the talent or you just want to help us do stuff as the club, you're welcome to join operations. That link for those meetings are posted in our Discord every Monday and will be available on the calendar and our web courses if you're part of that. And here's the few announcements for this week. We'll go through these just immediately following this. So besides this weekend on the 6th, which is today, it's a very large conference that we help organize a bit on the back end. If you're a student, it is free for you to join, or free to attend rather. Registration is open now, and we do have a few Hack UCF members and alumni presenting at that conference. And to more information about that, please visit bsidesorlando.org as on screen. And it's also being posted in chat, so please follow through with that if you're interested in attending today and tomorrow. During B-Sides, there is also a Science GTF. That is our CTF that we help host at B-Sides. We get thousands of players worldwide, and it's open to everyone. And if you are a top-rated team, you did get a fancy belt. You can see that on the little graphic on the right side. And the registration link for that is on screen as well, 2020.sunshinectf.org. That starts tomorrow, Saturday, at 9 o'clock Eastern and ends on 9 o'clock Eastern the next Monday. So it's about a 2-day competition, and it is Jeopardy style. If you're not familiar with Jeopardy style, what that means is that you're given a series of topics for the challenges, such as forensics, crypto, pwn, RE, and then you pick a challenge from that category, and it works like that, like a Jeopardy style, like a Jeopardy scoreboard. More harder challenges, of course, being worth more points. And another CTF that we have happening soon is the Hack the Box University CTF. I believe the team is limited to 10 members on the team. The full URL is on screen for information about that. If you do place on that, you do get some swag, some Parrot security merchandise like stickers and pins, I think, and some DigitalOcean credits, which is pretty neat. If you're interested in joining our university team, please contact Jeffrey or Sachin in the Discord. And I believe they would drop themselves as well in the chat. Just let them know you're here. And while the Hack the Box is happening in November 20th, the National Cyber League, or the NCL, is happening this weekend. So it's highly recommended as a training competition and kind of getting your feet in the water to figure out what CTF is all about. And it's a great learning resource for beginners. If you compete and win, you also get a nice certificate, which you can show off to your friends who didn't compete. Registration is $35. This is not a free one. Most of the other ones are, but this one is a $35 entry fee for this weekend. If you're interested in doing that, I believe a few of our members who are in that, there's also a NCL Discord you can get involved with. I don't know, I'm not in that one, but someone will drop a link for that if they're in that as well. So this semester, we are doing a T-shirt and hoodie design competition. The competition does close on Thursday, the 19th of November. That's in about 2 weeks from now, just about. And then on the Friday meeting of that week, the 20th, we will vote on our favorite designs. Here are 2 templates that will be provided with more information on the next slide of kind of just a rough idea of what we're looking for and the customizable options that you have for the design. For logos and templates for that design, please visit hackucf.org/shirts. And you can ask questions and submit your files by emailing shirts@hackucf.org. And then we do have a little disclaimer for please don't use any copyright, trademark, yada, yada, without approval from the actual owner of those. We will be distributing these and selling them, so we can't be using information we don't own. Technical details at the bottom, resolution of 4500 pixels by 5090 pixels, 300 ppi, PDF graphic formats, vector graphics, please. If you can't do that, high resolution .png are also acceptable. And you must include a template design. These 2 images are available in that zip file that you can download from the website. Please provide a showcase of your design using those templates. So for the Friday meeting, everyone has the same format to use for voting purposes. But of course, please submit the raw files as well in the final zip file you will submit to shirts@hackucf.org. And that is open until it's open until Thursday, the 19th. So please, if you're interested, submit a design, email us for questions, talk about it in the Discord. But yeah, of course, we do have prizes as well. If you are the chosen winner for the T-shirt, you do get a Raspberry Pi starter kit with all the information on screen, and you also get the T-shirt design shipped to you. So you win the T-shirt that you designed and the Raspberry Pi starter kit with all that stuff. Same for the hoodie, different prize. You do get a Arduino starter kit with all that great information that comes with it for hardware design and just playing with that. And you also do get a hoodie that you design. And that's kind of the design competition we have, again, till Thursday the 19th. Yes. All right. And in our Discord, we do have a virtual cyber lab. That's where we kind of have the place to socialize if you have some free time. Similar to how we have the cyber lab on campus that we currently can't access. Some bat banned us, I guess. Something happened over there. And we used to go in there and hang out between classes, do homework, whatever. This is the closest equivalent we have. It's a hangout space. It's just play games, stream games sometimes if you're just hanging out, and it's a social event, basically. It's open 24/7 on the Discord. You're welcome to join in throughout the week, and others may join in just a small talk. Nothing, just casual hanging out space. Get to know each other a little bit. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Jeffrey for current events.
Thank you. So next slide. So on November 2nd, Capcom suffered from an internal cyber attack. The attack affected their internal email and file servers, but nothing user-facing like games or anything. Capcom did confirm in a press release to investors that it was indeed a cyber attack, and that they halted the affected networks immediately to slow the spread of what was later confirmed to be a strain of the Ragnarlocker ransomware. They actually were threatened with leaking a terabyte of internal documents, including passports, NDAs, and financial data, if they didn't pay up and pay the ransom. Next slide. So everyone's favorite VPN, Cisco AnyConnect, EasyConnect to use this and stuff. It has a vulnerability. Cisco just dropped the 0-day for the VPN under CVE 2020-3556. It is a remote code execution, or RCE bug, that's caused by a lack of authentication in the IPC listener. It isn't exploited in the wild, as far as Cisco can tell, and it requires an active AnyConnect connection and valid user credentials in order to successfully exploit. This affects the Windows, Mac, and Windows Linux clients, but none of the mobile apps. A fix, while in the works, is not really available yet unless you disable auto update, which is the only known mitigation. Next slide. So last week I mentioned the YouTube DL takedown, and things kind of escalated. So an anonymous individual impersonating GitHub CEO leaked GitHub source code on the DMCA repo. The real CEO stated on a Hacker News post that it was originated from an accidental leak of the obfuscated Enterprise Edition source code. GitHub does plan to make changes to make such orphan comments easier to spot. And also, it's easy to lie in Git about who you are. So you can make sure that a comment that you push is, or one that you see, is really either yours or the person who it says it is by just signing your commits with GitHub or whatever. And then finally, next slide. So a neat little phishing trick was discovered that uses CSS to bypass some automated phishing detection algorithms. This Office 365 phishing campaign used an inverted background image to evade that automatic image detection that is usually done to see, hey, is this a phishing attack? But while it's hard for a computer to detect if the inverted image is the same as the normal one, you can make it indistinguishable to a human by using CSS to uninvert it on the client side, which is exactly what this phishing campaign ended up doing, making it hard for computers to detect and indistinguishable and easy for humans to fall for. Just takes a line of CSS. So that is all for current events. So I'm going to pass it over to Daniel to do tool time.
Hey, y'all. Let me get set up. Cool. And there we go. Cool. All right. I'm assuming that everyone can see my screen good.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So Digital Invisible Ink Toolkit. Let's do a little talk about Stego. If you don't know what it is, we're going to get to that really quick, but this image right here, I think might be hiding something. All right, so the Digital Invisible Ink Toolkit is a steganography analysis tool. It lets you create, it allows you to hide images or messages inside of other images, which is one branch of Stego. It's currently used in a lot of the NCL challenges and in a lot of the other like Cyber Skyline challenges. So if you're doing NCL this weekend, you've either heard of this tool, or if you haven't, you can make use of it. The Digital Invisible Ink Toolkit was created by Kay Hemstock for their honors project while they were at the University of Waikato CS department. And they released that so that all of us could use it. So where can you get it? And can you use it? Well, if you have a computer that can run the Java virtual machine, this will work. And it can be downloaded from this link right here. If you just search for it, you'll pull up the website. But let's go ahead and show you just how easy this is. downloading from SourceForge. Cool. And let's go ahead and swap over to a blank screen. We're going to put my machine in hacker mode. So all right, cool. I guess it would help if I did that right, huh? Whoa. Lame. That was gonna be so cool. There it is. Awesome. All right, so this is what you end up getting. It's just a graphical user interface, tab for encode, tab for decode, simulate and analysis. We're not going to get too much over here today. And we're going to talk about this very briefly at the tail end, but in decode, we're going to investigate that image that we thought might contain something earlier. So we're going to go to downloads, and I think that was it. Let's double check it. Yep, looks like it. All right, let's put this same place. We're just going to call this like output. It doesn't really matter what you call it, and it doesn't even need like a file extension. Well, I mean, at least on Nix. Oh, wow. Super lame. That I tried this 6 times to make sure that it was going to work right. So awful. Okay. Yeah. I literally did try this before, but I guess it's a good thing that I came prepared, somewhat prepared. And just in case, saved a backup. All right, so continue as if that was supposed to happen. So the way that this works basically is that you're essentially flipping bits inside of an image to hide the data for your message inside of another image. So one of the telltale signs for something like this, like that it's going to hide something, is if you look at the bottom of my screen right here, it says that it's 6.5 megabytes for a PNG. That's ridiculously large. So that's pretty much like a giveaway that there's like more there. But let's go ahead and navigate over. We'll get out of this folder back here. All right, so this is our output. Well, my system's auto recognizing that it is a zip. So like, let's see what's there. So many levels, huh? Whoa, another image? I wonder where it goes. Let's make sure. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Someone's got jokes. And we're just going to call this one output too. Seems legit. I had fun with this. All right. Oh, got a message here. Let's see where that leads us. It looks like it's base 64, right? It's not the flag. Lame. What else? What else? Not base 64. I wonder if it's hex. Will hack for memes. I think that's a pretty good flag. Anyway, so obviously, like, I made this little stego nonsense just to have a little bit of fun. And that entails like a variety of different things, but basically everything gets zipped into a file because you need to compress down everything that you're putting into the image. And fun fact, hiding text in images is super, super easy. Hiding images inside of images is a little bit more difficult, as each layer of image that you're hiding has to get progressively like larger so that it has enough information to store. The initial image that we started with ended up being like 500% its original size. So it got huge quick. And then to get the smallest image to like shrink down, I had to like compress it all the way down to like 5% of like what its original image quality was. But you essentially would select your message. I'm not going to go through the process right now because I've burned a lot of time. You'll pick your cover image, right? And that's the image that you want to hide your message in. Then you'll set your image output. And then that one right there, you get, it can either be a PNG or a bitmap image. And if you send it through, you've got a couple of different like encryption options here, or you've got a couple of different stego options. Battlesteg basically does bit flipping like in a battleship style. That's like the algorithm it uses. Hide, seek, and filter first are good. Blind hind's okay. And you can also set passwords for these. So basically, if I had done that, then you would have to have the image and the password in order to do this, or you would end up brute forcing it, which is difficult enough when it's just like when you're trying to like crack a hash, let alone like run it through this in Java, which is taking up like a bunch of space. So there are a lot of other tools out there, but in short, that is the digital invisible ink toolkit. I hope you all learned a lot, and I'm passing it back over.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. Before you close out, I think there's one question in chat if you want to address that one.
Yeah, let me just pull that up real quick. All right. So how do we know which algorithm to use? So Caleb, you don't know exactly which algorithm you're going to need to use. There are a limited set here, and basically what you end up doing is starting with Battlesteg because it tends to be pretty common, and then you just kind of like work your way through. There were two listed there that were dynamic in front of their name, and what that means is that it uses parallel processing to both hide the image and to unhide the image. One isn't compatible with the like non-dynamic version, so you just basically like you run through it. You like most times it's going to be Battlesteg. Cool.
Thank you, Daniel, for that demonstration. Let me go ahead and bring over the main changes in the slide, and we'll pass it back over to, we'll just hand it off to Raul for the main talk on bypassing AWL with LOLBins. So Raul, you can take it away.
Hey guys, let me pull up the screen here. Give me one sec. Okay, just let me know if you guys can see.
Yes, we can.
Cool. All right, guys. So my name's Raul. I'm going to be presenting today on LOLBins and Application Whitelist Bypass. So who am I? I am actually a Hack UCF alumni, UC/UCF alumni. I started at Mandiant in July of this year. And a couple hobbies that I have are jiu-jitsu, soccer, and when I have free time, I jump into some CTF competitions. So first off, I want to start off by talking about what are application whitelisting, or what is application whitelisting. And essentially, if you're familiar with like security compliance requirements in corporate environments, you're usually going to hear like keywords like PCI, HIPAA, and you're essentially just using that to meet requirements or standards yearly. And one of the requirements that you usually find is application whitelisting. And essentially, it's a solution to prevent executables that they do not want run on the environment. So they basically just create like a disallow list. So how does this all tie into LOLBins? Usually LOLBins are, or living off the land binaries, are native Windows applications or binaries that can be used legitimately or maliciously. Most of the time they're used maliciously from what I've seen, but usually these binaries are used in the background, which you would probably not notice. It's probably a process that just runs for maybe a couple minutes or just throughout the whole time that the system is running. But yeah, essentially it's just a binary that you can basically abuse it. So some things that you can do with it are obviously you can execute payloads, you can bypass some third-party EDR products, just depending on what it is. You can exfiltrate data, you can encode, you decode. One common thing that I have seen and that I've used on engagements is use it for DL hijacking. To verify if the actual binary is signed by Microsoft or by some third party, usually you just can run a PowerShell command, and like the one that I'm showing here, you can actually run the PowerShell command and it'll show you if it's a verified or not signed. So as you can see on the top picture, the status shows up as not signed, basically meaning that it's not signed by Microsoft or some third party. So a little bit about the history of LOLBins. LOLBins was actually coined by a security researcher currently at Red Canary. He used to work at Mandiant and Spectrops as well, Matt Graber at DerbyCon 3, and that was like around 2013. Then it got popularized through another security researcher who was also at Mandiant. He worked at the Central Region. His name's Casey Smith. And he basically coined the Reg SVR 32. He coined it Squilly-Do. And essentially what Squilly-Do was for was that essentially it's used to register and unregister DLLs and ActiveX components in the registry of the operating system. Essentially after that, they started creating the LOLBAS project. And what the LOLBAS project is, it's just an open source site where you can basically put in a request for any binary that you found that can be used maliciously on a operating system. If you actually want to actually go into it and just do a little bit of research, there's a lot of like resources out there. A couple of the guys, like you can see below here, Conscious Hacker, who is Chris Spain, he works with me as well. Advar Mo from Trusted Sec, Jimmy or Bohops, great guy as well. There's a lot of resources you can find out there. He has a lot of blog posts if you're interested. And we're just going to keep going forward here. So a couple of common LOLBins that you usually find and that I've seen being used are run DLL32 to run DLLs if you want. MSBuild to basically run C# from a XML file. Update.exe, that's a really interesting one because it's just Microsoft Teams. Another one is using this one, the MPC cmd run, that's basically Defender. And this is pretty recent, actually. You can actually go online and just research on it, and you can find a couple of bypasses that they've used lately. Another one that I thought was interesting was certutil. Certutil is used really commonly in malware. Malware, what it does is it uses it to download a payload and then encode or decode the payload and then run the payload. Well, not run the payload, but basically chain it with another LOLBin to actually run the payload. The one at the very bottom is interesting as well. This was just released recently, probably like 3 weeks ago. And essentially it's another LOLBin. And it's actually was researched by MDSec, which is a really well-known company in UK. So like I mentioned, certutil, you can encode and decode files. csc.exe, you can compile. Another one that's interesting is netsh. You can capture packets. So if you're on a network and you want to start capturing packets, see if maybe there's some clear text creds running around over the wire, you can use netsh. Print.exe, it's interesting because you can actually pool payloads using print.exe from a remote site. So what I wanted to talk more about was the research behind it and how to actually find these. So usually what I start off doing when I'm researching this stuff is I basically concentrate my efforts in a directory. So for example, in this case, I gave the example of system32, which is pretty common. And you can use just a PowerShell command to recursively go through the whole list and pull all the executables, obviously ending in .exe. And so going through this, there's 3 ways or more to actually find these LOLBins. You can use Google, or you can find through MSDN. Sometimes they just basically give you like a hint of what this binary does. You can use IDA or Ghidra, whichever is your preference. And essentially you can use this to basically go and not really reverse, I wouldn't really consider it reverse engineering, but you can throw it inside one of these programs, and essentially you can go into the text section of the file, and usually we'll find flags in there. And flags, I mean, like obviously like some options that you can give the program. The last but not least, probably the easiest one, if you give it the /? Sometimes you can get a actual like help menu. So 1 second here. All right, so for certutil, this is a pretty common one that we've seen many times. I'm pretty sure a couple of you guys have heard of it before. And essentially, what you can use certutil for, like I had mentioned before, is you can encode and decode stuff. And there's other stuff that you can do with it. Obviously, you can use it legitimately or maliciously. One being that, for example, in the case of malicious actor wants to get access on a system, has an initial vector, and they want to pull down a payload to maintain persistence or maybe run something from another process, they can download a payload depending on how monitored that system is, obviously. They can just basically download it use the code and then run a PowerShell payload in the example that you would want to use PowerShell, which is not recommended. So another binary that was pretty interesting as well was pester. The reason I put it on here, it's a pretty old binary, but what's interesting about it is that it includes a batch file. And in that batch file, if you start going through the actual source code at the very bottom, you get a help section. And in that help section, if you actually include the second argument, if you give it the second argument, it essentially what it does is it'll run whatever is in that second argument, which is pretty interesting. So you can see in the picture on the top right, it's actually popping calc. So if you can actually pop calc, you can get, I don't know, like a reverse shell or execute something. So IE for unit, it's basically a system component. So this is actual binary that's a system component for Internet Explorer. It usually isn't commonly run. It's just, it'll run in the background. It's more of a background process. But like you see here, when you give it base settings that you don't get anything, give it the question mark, give it help, you're not really getting anything. So this is when actual reverse engineering comes into play. So in the reverse engineering section, if you go to the text area, if you go through and you look, you can actually find that there is, for example, -hide or -show, reinstall. And if you actually use base settings, you can use base setting to actually maliciously run a file in that case. So that's the interesting part. Sometimes you may not be able to find them. A lot of times I've actually seen, for example, I was doing a bit of research, and one way that I ended up actually finding a lot of info on a binary was actually running procmon or proc explorer as well. You can actually see what is being run. You can look inside memory. Procmon is interesting because you can actually use it to see if it creates a file, if it's looking for a directory, and that's how you can actually play with this stuff. A lot of this stuff is just trial and error. Another one that I found that's really interesting and that I commonly use is MSBuild. So MSBuild, it's part of the build engine of Microsoft in .NET, and it basically builds XML files. The interesting thing about that is that if you actually feed it a inline task, which I show here on the right, if you feed it C# inside the inline task, it'll actually execute the C#. So you can already get an idea where I'm going with this, but you can essentially, like I said, pop calc as a proof of concept, and then you can basically use it to basically bypass a whitelist. So Microsoft Teams, I thought this was really interesting. I'm gonna pull in here to the demo, and let's pray to the demo gods here. Essentially, with Microsoft Teams, what you wanna, what I thought it was interesting just because it's provided on Microsoft Teams, and not only that, if you actually do investigate this LOLBin, you can actually find that, for example, it includes a flag called process start. I thought that was odd. Another one that you can find is process start arguments. So if you give it, like, for example, command.exe, and then you give it in the process start arguments something else, you can run something else from a command. The only caveat with this is that inside this update.exe, you actually need to include, for example, your payload inside current. So for example, as ours is going to be a proof of concept here, we can use calc. So let's just demo this here. And let's go in update.exe, process start. And then we can just give it calc.exe. And you can see here, calc is actually popping. So obviously, I'm not going to bore you with this, this one. I actually want to show you one that's interesting, just so you kind of get an idea. So a lot of times, calc will not be caught just because of the size of the shell code or the size of the executable. Sometimes if you, for example, if you generate some shell code that's going to pop calc and it's under a certain size of shell code, it will not be caught by Defender. Defender will actually let it go through. Sometimes if it exceeds the shell code size, Defender will note that and actually catch it. So it's really interesting how Windows Defender has actually gotten better. It's actually getting better than a lot of those third-party security products that you see out there. So I'm going to show you actually my favorite, which is this right here. So this is an XML file, and I'm actually going to use MSBuild to actually get a reverse shell here on our system. So I have a Cobalt Strike instance running on here, and we can actually go back here. And so let's see, Windows, Microsoft.NET framework. And so this is our location of MSBuild. And we are going to go here into users. And my payload. So with this, obviously, this would be detected normally. Now, in the case of threat actors, they're obviously not going to drop. Well, it really depends. Threat actors are actually sometimes don't really care, and they'll drop something not even obfuscated. So it just really depends on how advanced of a threat actor you would be dealing with. But obviously, like in the case of the demo, I decided to obfuscate it because I know Windows Defender will actually catch this kind of stuff. So this is obfuscated payload in here. We can actually just take a peep at it here. Let's see what shows up here. And this is actually the payload right here. And surprisingly, we split it up, do a little bit of magic on here, and it'll actually bypass Windows Defender. And just to show here, let's see. Oh, no, that's cloud. Don't want my sample delivered. Settings. Okay, so yeah, real-time protection is on. And we're going to run here. There we go. And we see back here, we get a connection. And then we go here, interact. And it'll respond back. It just takes a while because I have sleep at a certain amount. But if I was to do, but yeah, essentially that's it right here. We can actually prove that we got our connection. It just takes a while to actually get a command running. But yeah, that's about it. Let me actually go back to the slides here, and we can continue here. Chaining LOLBins. So I've talked about LOLBins. This can be run individually, but now, for example, a really common one that's been SIG'd a lot, and SIG'd I mean like there's many signatures for a lot of these now. So one way for a bypass here, if you see on the right, Dave Kennedy actually provided these on Twitter, a picture where he's showing where regsvr is being run, and it's actually being caught by Defender. So one thing he did was he hosted it. He ran np run commands.exe. He downloaded the file, and then right here, he just chains it with regsvr, and that actually bypasses it. So that goes to lead is, okay, if you're not able to bypass it with the original LOLBin, you can actually chain it with newer ones and be able to use that as a bypass. So that's where we're going into these days. A lot of the, now like many times we've noticed that threat actors are using these chains to actually bypass EDR products and AV products, whatever you have in the environment. But yeah, this is a new like area that they're looking into, that researchers are looking into. And contribute to LOLBAS. So if you want to contribute to LOLBAS, you can go in here, create a request, show your proof of concept, and they will add it to contributions. If you actually are interested more in the Linux area, there's also GTF bins. You can actually just Google that, and you'll find many binaries that you can actually use the same way that you can in Windows. So one thing that I wanted to talk about was FireEye internships. So our internships are offered next summer. So I definitely recommend you guys to apply. And there's positions all over the company right now. We're interviewing for red team, incident response, reverse engineering, threat intel, if you want to be a SOC analyst as well, and threat research. So definitely go take a look at that. I will actually provide a PDF format for you guys here, so you guys can take a look at the slides eventually. And that's it. That's end of the talk here. You guys have any questions? So I am not sure if they're going to be remote. That all depends on how the whole situation with COVID is at that time. I would assume they probably are. They do get to go on the Mandiant helicopter. So you'll be privileged. Any other questions with regards to the internship or the research? So for the internship experience, it just all varies. Sometimes I would say sometimes it's more what they look for more if you're interested in actually learning things than actual experience. It just really depends. PhD research internships, I would not personally know. I'm pretty sure even if you're a student at a college, I'm pretty sure they would be willing to take you as well. Any other questions? So if they are not remote, they will be located at your preference. When I mean preference, so for example, you can be located in Virginia at the Reston office or Alexandria. You can also, they give you like basically the ability to pick the area you would want to be in. That's what, from what I have understood. Just obviously don't take my word for it. You can ask that to someone who would reach out to you if you do go through the phases of interviewing. Relocation fees, I'm pretty sure they will provide you with a relocation fee. So, and they do provide you with a hefty amount. What's the best thing about FireEye? The best thing about FireEye, I would say, in my example, in my case, I find it's probably one of the best red teams out there. Not only because I find it one of the best red teams out there is because we get to see engagements in various environments, and on top of that, we're not only working in the U.S. We can work with other teams cross region or even in other countries as well. So you do get a lot of exposure. You do get a lot of research time, a lot of dev time, depending on what you're doing. And obviously, one great thing is that we also have the Flare team as well, and we have a lot of guys there that are really knowledgeable, and that's something that FireEye offers that not many places offer as well. Tom, I probably will not, just because like I think you have to actually apply, like you have to get a spot to actually be on the red team. But I will be wanting to do that eventually, maybe next year. Hopefully it's not remote next year, and we actually are able to actually go and hang out with the guys. Any other question, guys? Okay, I guess not. I will hand it off to Michael here.
All right. Thank you, Raul, for taking the time out of your day to come present with us today.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Let me pull up my the last slide for today, and we'll get things closed out here. So yeah. So last thank you to Raul, and thank you to everyone here for attending our meeting today. If you want to hang out and socialize, please do so in our Discord. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting here. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Don't forget about those CTFs that we have this weekend, and B-sides, of course, happening today and tomorrow. And, of course, a quick reminder of the T-shirt design competition that is going on for the next 2-ish weeks. Other than that, we will see you guys next week. So have a good one.